It's Celty! She's not happy. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Review to Review, the show where we go back and watch movies to see if we still like them. As always, my name's Adam.
And I'm Josh.
And this week we're going back to watch Pokemon, Detective Pikachu. If you grew up anytime during the 1990s, you are very familiar with the sensation that was Pokemon, a show about cute monsters that would fight each other to get stronger. Whether it was the video games, the trading card game, the TV shows, or the mountains of merchandise that they sold, Pokemon has found a way to monetize your childhood one way or another.
So I was a late bloomer with Pokemon. My introduction to Pokemon ended up being on the Game Boy Advance with the remake of Green, then came Emerald, and then came Heart Gold, and then came all of the DS and 3DS games.
And with me, my first introduction to Pokemon was getting eye cancer from playing Pokemon Red on the Game Boy Color. Care to guess what color it was, Josh? Red. Just red.
You mean you played with less than 256 colors?
My God. Now, even though I preferred the better monster series Digimon growing up, I can hear your screams, I don't care. I still enjoy Pokemon a lot.
So the thing is, though, which series is persisting today?
Digimon just got a reboot in an anime. It's gotten a whole bunch of movies.
And games?
The games need work. It is a bummer that when your best game series is a Persona knockoff.
My favorite was actually the Digimon World series.
Really?
Yep.
When this movie first came out, I specifically remember hearing about it and thinking, there is no way in hell this movie is ever getting made. And honestly, I don't think anyone can blame me for that just on paper. There's gonna be a live-action Pokemon movie. Okay. It's gonna be based on a spin-off series of the games. Okay. Pikachu is gonna be played by Ryan Reynolds. Okay.
I was super skeptical to begin with, not necessarily at the legitimacy of the claims, but like you said, live-action Pokemon. But overall, they did it really well.
So the movie is about Tim Goodman, one of the few people who live in this world of Pokemon who doesn't actually get along with Pokemon. You also find out that he is estranged from his father, but when he finds out that he has been murdered, that's right, murder in a Pokemon movie. He goes to Rhyme City where he meets his father's Pikachu, that then lets him know that his father might still be alive, and thus our heroes begin their journey.
Is this a good point for the spoiler warning?
Oh yeah, good point. The movie has a lot of heart in it. You can tell that the people who created this really understand Pokemon, or at least understand that it's important to people. It's something that Ryan Reynolds has actually gone on note to say is that he's not actually a fan of Pokemon, but something that probably comes from his experiences playing Deadpool. He understands how important a fictional character can be to people, and how important it is to people to see it portrayed properly on screen. Now, saying Ryan Reynolds is the perfect Pikachu might be a bold choice, but they definitely presented it in a very smart way. How do you get an actor who is known for being charming, raunchy, and showing his ass in literally every movie he's in? Seriously, go back, watch it. Van Wilder, Deadpool, all of them. His ass is in every single movie. How do you get him to portray one of the cutest family-friendly characters of all time? He's not playing the Pikachu, or the Pikachu from the anime. Which, even though this movie takes place in the same world as the anime, it's a completely different character. You can get away with a fresher Pikachu. Fresh, does that translate? Am I that old?
So you have the main protagonist, Tim Goodman, played by Justice Smith.
You might recognize him from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. He actually does a really good job of playing the straight man in this sort of scene.
Please don't.
When you have a character like Pikachu, or really just an actor like Ryan Reynolds, he benefits a lot by having a straight man to bounce off of. The person who stands in for us in a situation to sort of just point out how ridiculous everything is. And in this world of Pokemon, he does this very well. You're in a world with cute, fluffy creatures that could kill somebody at any instant. We just let them serve coffee and put out fires. And even though this is very much a children's movie, a family-friendly movie, you did see a surprising amount of growth in this character in a reasonable way.
And then accompanying them, you have Lucy, played by Catherine Newton. And to me, she was honestly the biggest letdown in the movie. She felt like a bit of a shtick, a two-dimensional character who was there just to fill a role. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
And as you're finding out what happened to Tim's father, you also learn of the main villain's plan, which is to combine humans and Pokemon for some reason.
Because legs.
Because legs, right. So the main villain, Howard Clifford, which is a name that I did not have to look up, is played by Bill Nye.
And no, not that Bill Nye.
Could you imagine an evil Bill Nye?
I'll increase all the greenhouse gases.
He's a perfectly serviceable bad guy. He's in a wheelchair for some reason. He's British, and he has some crazy-ass plot that I still don't fully understand. So yeah, you know, he's not a bad kids show bad guy.
I hit 2 out of 3 of those. What does that get me? World domination, here we come.
Colonialism at its finest. Let's go ahead and cover some things that we liked in anything that we didn't like about the movie. The greatest part about the movie is the relationship between Tim and Pikachu. All their dialogue feels very real. Whether it's these small quips back and forth, whether they argue about trivial things, or whether they just react to this strange world around them. Now, I really love seeing the Pokemon out and about. So for instance, my favorite Pokemon has always been Growlithe. Fire Dog, what else do you need to be sold on? But even though he never got a full scene to himself, it was awesome just to see him live and breathe in this world. And it's really cool to see all these Pokemon brought to life. You got your heavy hitters like Gyarados, Charizard, Mewtwo,
Psyduck, Aipon, Snapple, Bulbasaur, Ludicolo. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they didn't have Mudkip in this.
no Mudkips.
They had a Trico though.
They had plenty of Tricos. I saw more than one Trico.
I guess they do not like Mudkips. And not even just the Pokemon themselves, but the world building of Rhyme City itself was fantastic. Every corner that you looked on, there was something new. You got the coffee shops, you got branding for food and drinks and news network. It felt like a real city.
And not only with the visual aesthetic, you also have the auditory aesthetic. The soundtrack is done by Henry Jackman, who has a rich history of doing soundtracks for movies like the X-Men First Class soundtrack, which I still listen to sometimes.
And not even just the soundtrack, the audio design in general was really well done, from everything from the Pokemon voices to the sounds that their individual moves make during battle. I actually did quite enjoy the dubstep scene with the larger.
It was also really cool to see these small glimpses of the wider Pokemon world. Like when you got to see that Pokemon battle at the very beginning of the movie, you also can't help but marvel at the designs of the Pokemon. They have done this amazing job of keeping with the traditional design of the Pokemon, but also adapting them in a way that makes them feel very organic and part of this world, for most of them. When it comes to some Pokemon like Gengar and Jigglypuff, they are just the definition of cursed images. It just seems to be with all the Pokemon that are shaped like balls. They couldn't get done in any way that wasn't pure nightmare fuel. Now that we covered the things that we liked, what are some of the things that bothered us? One of the main things that bothered me has to be the villain's plot. I really don't understand why he wants to combine all of humanity with Pokemon. I mean, I can see why that works out better for himself, especially when you put yourself in a Mewtwo. However, I don't see why he felt the need to combine everybody else with Pokemon. He doesn't specifically say why, other than it's the next step in evolution, which is just vague for the sake of vagueness. Just admit it, Howard, you're a furry.
No kink shaming here.
Gonna turn all of Rhyme City into a massive GIF pile.
Oh no.
Something I also have to say is that, yeah, the main bad guy sucks and it's great that he gets out of power. However, it's implied that his son is going to take over. But his son's not much better. His son is still a he's just slightly less than the previous that before him. Let's see if we get demonetized for that. Joke's on you, YouTube. Gotta make money before you can take it away. And the first thing that this dude says to Lucy is,
You want a story? Find a source. And pro tip, a reasonable sense of fashion.
what the fuck, man? So not only does this company seem to own most of Rhyme City, but they also own all the local news networks. So not only was Roger Clifford a massive dick to Lucy, but the very first thing he tells her to do is spread propaganda for his company. Maybe I'm just far too cynical for this world of Pokemon, but yeah, that didn't seem like a super happy ending.
Yeah, old man.
Yeah. And if there's another complaint I have, this one I'll admit is a little nitpicky, but it's the decision to film the movie in London. No disrespect, London, I would love to visit you, I've just got a hear me out. All the scenes in the movie take place in one of two locations. Either a super dark, dimly lit room, or an outdoors area that is incredibly misty. And I don't know if that comes from just deciding to shoot the movie in London, where you do get that really nice Pokemon aesthetic with the buildings and such, or if that just comes from I intentionally chose a misty place so I can cover up the fact that most of this world is going to be covered with CGI characters. And again, I will admit that I'm being a bit nitpicky when I say this, especially when you consider this is Detective Pikachu. It is very much inspired by classic noir films. So when you have the visual style of a dark room or a misty highway, it very much harkens back to that style. But at the same time, I also really enjoyed the scene at the beginning of the movie where you see Tim trying to catch a Cubone. Something that gives you a little bit more variety to make it feel a little bit more lifelike. But again, I can admit that's almost fishing for a complaint at that point.
So now that we've gone back and reviewed the movie, what are our final thoughts on it?
For me, I really enjoyed the movie. And something that's interesting about it is it's one of the few movies that I feel the same about rewatching it as I did the very first time I saw it.
And I have to agree, it still hit the same notes it did when I first watched it. It got a few good giggles out of me the entire way through, and really it was just an enjoyable experience all around.
If you grew up loving Pokemon the way that we both did, it's very hard not to smile throughout the movie. And unlike other movies that that just do fan service for the sake of fan service. This really does seem to be done with a certain amount of heart. And honestly, I find myself wanting more of this world. I don't know if I necessarily need to see more Detective Pikachu. I feel like that might have run its course. Even if they just did the original Pokemon games, or if they wanted to do another spin-off like Pokemon Conquest, I think that would be badass to see Nobunaga riding on the back of an Arcanine into battle. If there's one thing that this movie showed, it's that there's a lot of untapped potential in the Pokemon universe, and even though I never would have expected it beforehand, I honestly hope that Warner Brothers continues to make more. The movie just reminds us of everything that we love about Pokemon.
That homegrown childhood, get up in the morning, take out your Game Boy, play video games. Why can't we do that now?
Where's my busted ass SP at? Let's get to work.
So, our final thoughts on Detective Pikachu. It's worth watching, again and again.
But those have been our thoughts. We are far more curious about your thoughts. Go ahead and let us know in the comments down below what your favorite Pokemon game is, what your favorite Pokemon is, or how you felt about the movie. We're desperate for conversation.
I've been so lonely.
If you just want to yell it at him, that's appropriate too.
No, it's not. Actually, don't do that.
And as always, thanks for coming by. We appreciate you tuning into our content. And if you want to see more of us, feel free to leave us a like, give us a nice subscribe.
But until then, my name's Adam.
And I'm Josh.
We'll see you guys next time. How exhausting has that been?
Not the slightest. Could I ever get tired of holding these? The answer is probably, but not today.
So we all learn new things about ourselves.